Single mother only wanted a loan, but she dropped her wallet, and the billionaire CEO froze when he saw the photo. Before we begin, tell us in the comments which city you are watching from. And at the end, remember to rate this story from 0 to 10. Enjoy the story. The documents hit the desk with a sharp sound. HarperCollins pushed the folder forward, organized, separated by colored tabs, each page marked with lilac post-its, and looked at the manager of Waverly Holdings Bank with the dignity of someone who has already lost too much to be afraid of losing one more thing. "It's all there," she said, her voice steady. "Income proof for the last 6 months, bank statement, credit history, a recommendation letter from my supervisor, and I even highlighted the important parts. Lilac, because purple felt a little too formal." The manager, a man in a gray suit, a rehearsed smile, and eyes that measured people the way some people measure cheap furniture, did not even touch the folder. He looked at Harper. He looked at the easy-wash laundry uniform she was wearing. He looked at the improvised bun that was trying heroically to stay on top of her head. And then he did something Harper would never forget. He pushed the folder back. "Miss," he checked the system as if her name were a nuisance. "Collins, I'm afraid we won't be able to move forward with your request." Harper blinked. "What do you mean? I haven't even sat down yet." "You won't need to," he replied, his smile unchanged. "This bank serves a specific client profile, and with all due respect, you do not fit that profile." The word profile hit Harper like a slap given with a silk glove. She looked at her shoes, clean but old, at her uniform, pressed but worn, at her hands, hardworking but without expensive rings. "Profile," she repeated slowly. "You mean clothes?" The manager tilted his head. "I mean presentation, Miss Collins. This is an environment that requires a certain standard." "Standard," Harper repeated again, as if she were translating a language she refused to learn. "I see. So if I walked in with heels and a designer bag, my money would be worth more?" A nearby customer coughed, trying to hide a laugh. The manager did not find it amusing. "I will ask you to leave." "I'm not going anywhere," Harper said, lifting her chin. "I have the right to be assisted. I have income, I have documents, I even have lilac highlighter. LILAC. That should earn me at least a cup of coffee." The manager raised his hand, and 2 security guards approached. The air changed. Harper felt her stomach sink. "Gentlemen," the manager said without taking his eyes off her, "please escort Miss Collins to the exit. She is making the other clients uncomfortable." "Uncomfortable?" Harper let out a nervous laugh. "I only breathed in here. If that's uncomfortable, you all need a spa, not a bank." The first guard, broad shoulders, expression of a refrigerator door, stopped beside her. "Ma'am, I need you to come with me, now." Harper looked at him, looked at the manager, looked at the clients pretending not to see. Then she looked at the desk, that polished mahogany piece so imposing it seemed to guard all the secrets in that room. "You," she said to the desk, "you're seeing this, right? You're on his side, I'm sure. All varnished wood is like that. A traitor." The guard frowned. "Ma'am?" "I'm talking to the desk," Harper explained, as if it were obvious. "It doesn't answer, but at least it doesn't judge me for my clothes." An older man in a hat, sitting in the corner, let out a laugh. The manager turned red. "This is exactly the kind of behavior that what?" Harper cut in. "Behavior from someone who was woken up at 5 in the morning by a 7-year-old asking why the cereal is gone? Behavior from someone who took 2 buses to get here before her laundry shift? Behavior from someone who organized every paper in this folder with care because she thought, I don't know, maybe someone would actually look." Her voice cracked on the last word. But she didn't cry. HarperCollins did not cry in public. She saved her tears for the shower, the only place where no one charged rent for her pain. The second guard touched her arm. "Miss Collins, please." "You know my name," she said, turning to him. "You know my name and you still want to throw me out?" She took a breath. "Listen, I argued with a bottle of liquid detergent at 6 this morning. It won, but you won't." The guard hesitated. The manager lost his patience. "Remove her. Now. Before, ding." The elevator sound cut him off. Everyone turned. The doors slid open, and out stepped Lucas Mercer, the CEO of Waverly Holdings Bank. The air in the lobby seemed to rearrange itself. Clients straightened their posture. Employees swallowed hard. Even the decorative plant in the corner seemed to stand a little taller. Lucas Mercer wore a navy suit so perfectly tailored it looked like it had been sewn directly onto him. His dark hair was flawless, his jaw sharp, His eyes, a deep brown, scanned the room with the calm of someone who had seen empires fall and stayed standing. He walked through the lobby. Each step echoed, and then he stopped, right in the middle of everything. He looked at the security guards. He looked at the manager. He looked at Harper. And he said, in a low voice that somehow reached every corner of that lobby, "What is happening here?" The manager opened his mouth. Harper felt her heart race, and her bun, that heroic bun that had been fighting for hours, finally gave up. It fell. Right on time. Of course. A loose strand slid down Harper's face at the exact moment the most powerful man in that bank was looking straight at her. She blew the strand aside. "Hi," Harper said, not knowing what else to say. "I just wanted a loan. But I think the universe disagrees." Lucas Mercer stared at her for a long moment, and then, so fast almost no one noticed, the corner of his mouth moved. Almost a smile. Almost. The silence in the lobby grew heavy. Lucas Mercer didn't repeat his question. He didn't need to. When a man like him spoke once, the whole world stopped to listen, and heaven help whoever wasn't paying attention. The manager moved first. "Mr. Mercer." His voice came out 2 tones higher than usual. "What a surprise to see you come down personally. Everything is under control, just a small misunderstanding." Lucas didn't look at him. He was still looking at Harper, at the wrinkled uniform, at the defeated bun, at the brown eyes filled with a mix of embarrassment and defiance he hadn't seen in a long time. "A misunderstanding," Lucas repeated, finally turning toward the manager. "That requires 2 security guards?" The manager swallowed. "The client was agitated, sir, making the others uncomfortable." "Agitated?" Harper cut in, raising her hands. "If this is agitated, you've never seen real agitation. I just breathed a little stronger. It's stress, and inflation, and this bank that apparently has a dress code for asking for a loan." A teller at the next counter covered their mouth to hide a laugh. Lucas didn't hide his. The corner of his mouth lifted, 1/2 a millimeter, maybe, but it lifted. "What is her name?" he asked the manager, though he was already reading it on the screen. "Collins," the manager answered, sweating. "Harper Collins. Harper Collins," Lucas repeated, as if filing the name somewhere important. "And what was the reason for refusing her service?" The manager hesitated. "The profile, sir. She doesn't match the agency's profile." "Profile." Lucas said the word slowly, tasting every syllable like someone analyzing spoiled wine. "And since when does this bank turn clients away because of profile?" "It's not exactly like that, sir. It's just—" "It is exactly like that," Lucas cut in, his voice still low but now with hint of steel. "And it is the exact opposite of what this bank stands for." He turned to the security guards. "You may go back to your posts. Miss Collins is not being escorted anywhere." The guards exchanged looks and stepped back. Harper blinked. Had she heard that right? Did the bank's CEO just take her side? "Mr. Mercer," the manager tried again, desperate. "With all due respect, the lady was causing a scene." "The only scene I saw," Lucas interrupted, now looking directly at him, "was one of my employees humiliating a client who came here with organized documents and good intentions." He paused. "This will go in your quarterly report, Miss Henderson," the manager whispered, pale. "Charles Henderson." "Henderson," Lucas repeated. "I don't forget names." He turned to Harper. "Miss Collins, I'm sorry for how you were treated. I would like to see your documents if you don't mind." Harper froze for a second. 2 seconds. 3. "You want to see my papers?" she asked, as if he had offered her a unicorn. "If it's not a problem." No, of course not. It's just—" She took a deep breath and opened her bag. "It's just that no one ever— I highlighted everything and no one even looked, so I—" "Wait, where's the—" Her hands were shaking. She dug through her bag, pulled out a pack of tissues, a chewed pen, a plastic toy Mia had hidden there. "Sorry," Harper murmured, feeling her face heat up. "I swear it was here. Her hand finally found the wallet. She pulled it out. But the wallet decided this was the perfect moment to be dramatic. It slipped, it flew, it hit the corner of Henderson's desk, bounced, and landed on the marble floor, open, spilling coins, cards, and papers everywhere, as if performing a personal presentation. Harper closed her eyes. "This is the 3rd time today," she said to no one in particular, "that I lose to inanimate objects. 3rd. And it's still morning." She bent down to pick everything up, her face red, her hands clumsy. Lucas bent down too. "Let me help," he said, gathering some of the cards. "You don't have to, really. I'm just a walking disaster. You don't need—" She stopped talking, because Lucas had stopped too. He was looking at something on the floor. A photo, old, the edges bent, colors faded by time. It had slipped out of her wallet and landed right at his feet as if destiny had aimed for it. Lucas picked up the photo, and the world seemed to shrink. Harper watched his face change, his posture, his breathing. He went pale. Not a little pale. Truly pale. The kind that comes before fainting or life-changing revelations. "Sir?" Harper called, still crouched on the floor. "Are you okay? It's just an old photo, you don't need—" "Where did you get this?" Lucas asked, his voice rough. Harper frowned. "It's my father, Malcolm Collins. She swallowed hard. "He disappeared when I was 13. Lucas stood up slowly. His fingers held the photo as if it were made of crystal or dynamite. "Your father," he repeated. "Is this man here? The one holding you in his arms?" "Yes," Harper confirmed, confused. "Why? Did you know him?" Lucas didn't answer right away. He looked at the photo, then at Harper, then at the photo again, and finally said with a voice that made the entire lobby feel too small, "This man is Malcolm Waverly, the founder of this bank, missing for 15 years. And you, Harper Collins, you just reopened the biggest mystery in this company's history." Harper blinked. The floor felt like it disappeared under her feet. "What?" The word escaped before she could stop it. "No, wait, that doesn't make sense. My father he worked with numbers, I think. He never—" But Lucas wasn't listening. He was staring at the photo as if it held every answer he'd searched for over the years. "Harper," he said, and this time his voice carried a different weight. It was no longer the cold CEO. It was something else, something she couldn't name. "I need you to come with me. Now." She looked at the security guard still standing there, at Manager Henderson, who looked seconds away from a collapse, at the customers pretending not to watch, and then at Lucas Mercer, the most powerful man in that bank, holding an old photo of her father as if it were the most important thing in the world. "Go with you," she repeated slowly. "Where?" Lucas placed the photo in the inside pocket of his suit. "To a place where I can explain who you really are." Harper Collins had never walked so fast in low heels, and honestly, she had never crossed such an elegant hallway. But there she was, trying to keep up with Lucas Mercer's long strides, while her brain yelled questions her mouth couldn't form yet. "Wait," she said, almost trotting beside him. "You said my father was— what exactly? Founder? Like a real founder? Like his name on the wall, statue in the garden, that kind of founder?" Lucas didn't slow down. "That exact kind." "And he disappeared 15 years ago?" "Correct. And no one ever looked for me? No one thought, hey, maybe his daughter knows something?" Lucas finally glanced at her, quick but enough for Harper to notice something strange in his eyes. "That," he said, "is one of the many questions I have too." They turned a corner, and the world changed. The bank lobby was elegant, sure, but this area, the executive floor, was another planet. Dark wood walls, gold-framed paintings, carpet so soft, Harper felt her feet sink, like she was walking on a cloud. And the people. Everyone in suits, everyone impeccable. Everyone looking at her as if a coffee stain had grown legs and decided to take a tour. Harper tried to ignore the stares, tried to walk with confidence, tried at least not to. Her heel caught on a tiny crack in the marble. She stumbled. She didn't fall, because Lucas, without even looking, reached out and grabbed her elbow at the last second. "Careful," he said, as if saving clumsy women was part of his daily routine. "Thank you," Harper muttered, her face burning. "It's the floor. It clearly has something against me." Clearly. She could swear he was hiding a smile. They kept walking. Harper used the moment to try fixing her bun. The bun that had given up back in the lobby and now hung sadly on the left side of her head. She slipped her fingers in, tried to push, twist, do anything that resembled a hairstyle. It only got worse. Now she looked like she had fought a wind turbine. Wonderful. That was when Harper felt it, that feeling when someone was looking at you, not a quick glance, not out of curiosity, truly looking, studying. She turned her head, and she saw a woman standing at the end of the hallway. Tall, blonde, a perfectly tailored gray suit, a beautiful face that looked like it was carved from ice, and eyes, blue eyes that didn't blink, didn't turn away, only measured. The woman looked at Harper the way someone analyzes a threat, or an insect. Harper swallowed hard. "Lucas," she whispered. "Who is that?" Lucas glanced over. "Vivian Langley, executive director of the board." "She looks friendly. She is not." I figured. Vivian didn't move, didn't wave, didn't smile. She only kept watching as Harper and Lucas walked by, and something in that stare made Harper feel a chill down her spine that had nothing to do with the air conditioning. She walked faster, getting closer to Lucas. "This place gives me chills," Harper murmured. "You get used to it." "I doubt that." They turned down another hallway, this one even quieter, and Harper bumped into a decorative plant. The plant shook. The pot wobbled. She held it with both hands before it fell, hugging the poor thing as if it were a distant relative. "I'm sorry," Harper said to the plant. I'm sorry. It's not your fault. I am a walking disaster." Lucas stopped walking. He looked at her hugging the plant. And this time, he couldn't hide it. A smile. Small. Quick. But real. "Do you always talk to objects?" he asked. "Only when they are more polite than people," Harper answered, letting go of the plant and fixing the leaves she had bent. "Which these days is almost always." Lucas shook his head, but the smile was still there, hidden at the corner of his mouth like a secret he didn't want to admit. They stopped in front of a door, different from the others, heavy, dark, with a metal sign that read, "Restricted files, authorized access only." Lucas typed a code on the panel beside it. The door made a click and opened. Harper stepped inside. The air felt different there, colder, stiller, as if time had decided to move slower. Metal shelves covered the walls, boxes, folders, documents yellowed by time. But none of that mattered, because at the back of the room, lit by a soft light, there was a painting, huge, gold frame. And inside the frame, looking directly at Harper with eyes she knew better than her own, was her father's face. Malcolm Waverly, Malcolm Collins, the same man. Harper stopped breathing. "Dad?" The word slipped out before she could stop it, small and broken, like a lost child who finally finds the way home. Lucas closed the door behind them. "Harper," he said quietly, "it's time for you to know the truth." Her father's face stared at her from inside that gold frame, younger, more serious, more everything. Harper couldn't look away. It was as if 15 years of unanswered questions had condensed into one single moment, one single painting, one single man she thought she knew, and apparently didn't know at all. "He hated that picture," Lucas said, stopping beside her. "He used to say the painter made him look like a politician. And Malcolm Waverly was terrified of looking like a politician." Harper swallowed. "Malcolm Waverly," she repeated the name, testing how it sounded. "All this time, my father was this, and I thought he worked with taxes. Technically, banks deal with taxes. Are you trying to make a joke?" "I'm trying to ease the tension." "It's not working." Lucas nodded. "There." Harper took a step back, still staring at the painting. Her father wore a dark suit in the portrait. Perfect posture, head raised, eyes that looked as if they could see through any lie. "Not even on his driver's license he looked this serious," she murmured. "At home he smiled. He made crooked pancakes. He sang songs wrong on purpose, just to make me laugh." Her voice cracked. "How is this man the same one who carried me in his arms?" Lucas didn't answer right away. Instead, he walked to one of the shelves and pulled out a cardboard box, old, dusty, with a red seal on the corner. "Because your father," he said, placing the box on the table, "lived 2 lives, and he did everything he could to keep you away from this one." He opened the box, and the past spilled out. Photos. Dozens of them. Malcolm Waverly in meetings. Malcolm Waverly cutting ribbons at openings. Malcolm Waverly shaking hands with senators, governors, business leaders with serious faces. Harper picked up one of the photos with trembling hands. This is the governor of New York. Former governor. 1998. And this? Forbes cover. Twice. And this? Entrepreneur of the Year award. 3 years in a row. Harper dropped the photos as if they burned. "I don't understand," she said, her voice rising. "If he was all of that, why did we live in a 2-bedroom apartment in Queens? Why did my mother work in 2 pharmacies? Why did I grow up thinking we were normal?" Lucas pulled a yellowed folder from the bottom of the box. "Because of this." He opened the folder. Documents, internal memos, letters stamped with bright red confidential marks. "Your father built this bank from nothing," Lucas explained, spreading the papers across the table. "He had a vision. He wanted to create a financial system that helped ordinary people, not only the wealthy. Accessible microcredit, loans for small businesses, financial education programs for underserved communities." Harper frowned. "That sounds good?" It was, and that was exactly the problem. Lucas pointed to one of the memos. The board disagreed. They wanted maximum profit, minimum risk. They wanted the bank to become another machine that made money for those who already had plenty. Malcolm refused. And from there, he paused. Things got ugly. Harper stepped closer to the table, trying to read the documents. Her hand brushed against a stack of folders in the corner. The stack wobbled, tilted, and fell. Folders and papers flew everywhere like a storm of bureaucracy. "Oh no," Harper groaned, dropping down to gather everything. I'm sorry, I'm a disaster, Leave it," Lucas said, but he was already kneeling beside her, picking up documents. They reached for the same folder. Their fingers touched. Harper froze. Lucas did too. For 1 second, one that felt much longer, they stayed there, crouched on the floor, surrounded by old papers, looking at each other. Then Harper cleared her throat and pulled her hand back. "The folder is yours," she said too quickly. "I mean, the bank's. You know what I mean." Lucas took the folder without commenting, but Harper could swear his ears were slightly red. Interesting. They stood up. Harper tried to fix herself. Not easy, considering her bun now had a piece of paper stuck in it. She had no idea. Lucas saw it, but said nothing. He returned to the documents. 3 months before he disappeared, Lucas continued, your father started noticing strange things going on around him. Nothing direct. Subtle things. Projects being delayed, meetings canceled at the last minute, internal information leaking to the press with no explanation. Someone was pressuring him? Someone wanted him out. Harper felt a chill. And he left? Went away? Lucas nodded slowly. One morning, he simply didn't show up. He left a letter for the board saying he needed some time, and he never came back. He paused. The police investigated, the FBI investigated, no one ever found anything. It was as if Malcolm Waverly had vanished into thin air. Harper walked back to the board. She looked at her father's face, that serious, heavy face, so different from the man she remembered. He didn't abandon me, she whispered, more to herself than to Lucas. He was protecting us. It looks that way. From who? Lucas hesitated. That's the billion-dollar question. Harper turned to him. Billion? Your father was the majority shareholder of this bank, Harper. When he disappeared, the shares were frozen. No one could touch them. No one could sell them. Technically, they still belonged to him. Or, Lucas paused in a meaningful way, to his legal heir. The ground seemed to shift again. Heir, Harper repeated. You mean? Lucas walked to the box and pulled out one last folder, this one with a different red seal, heavier, more official. He opened it. Inside was a single sheet, a legal document, old but preserved, and in the center, 2 names. Malcolm Waverly, Harper Waverly Collins. You're listed as the universal beneficiary in his will, Lucas said, closing the folder. That means that legally, if Malcolm is declared missing for a prolonged period, or if he is found, all of this, he gestured to the walls, to the bank, to the entire empire belongs to you. Harper opened her mouth. Closed it. Opened it again. Nothing came out. Lucas put the folder away. But there's one more thing you need to know. More? Harper almost laughed. What else could there be? Lucas looked at her with a seriousness that made her chest tighten. This document was hidden for 15 years. Buried in files no one was supposed to access. I only found it because I was doing an internal audit 6 months ago. He paused. Someone hid this on purpose, Harper. Someone made sure you would never be found. That you would never know who you were. Harper felt her legs weaken. Who? Lucas looked toward the door, as if he expected someone to be listening. Powerful people. People who benefited from your father's disappearance. People who are still inside this bank. He looked at her again. And now that you showed up, now that this photo fell out of that wallet, they will know. If they don't already. The silence that followed was heavy. Harper thought about Vivian Langley, that cold stare in the hallway. She thought about Manager Henderson. The rush to throw her out. She thought about how the entire universe seemed determined to keep her from ever stepping into that bank. Lucas, she said, her voice small, what do I do now? He studied her for a long moment. Now, he said, you decide if you want the truth. All of it, no matter the cost, no matter who falls. Harper looked at her father's portrait, at the documents spread out, at the folder with her name, and then, slowly, she straightened her back. I spent 15 years thinking my father abandoned me, she said. 15 years carrying that. If there's even a chance to learn what really happened, she took a deep breath. Then yes, I want the truth. Lucas nodded. Then we'll find it. He held out his hand. Harper looked at it, and for the first time since she had walked into that bank, she felt something other than fear. She felt hope. She took Lucas's hand, and in that moment, without knowing it, the two of them sealed a pact that would shake that bank down to its foundations and put targets on both their backs. 3 hours later, and the Waverly Holdings Bank was no longer the same. Harper felt the difference the second she walked through the revolving doors. That morning, she had been invisible. Now, she was the center of every stare, and none of them seemed friendly. Employees whispered. Security guards exchanged messages over the radio, and in every corner, every hallway, Harper could swear she heard her name being whispered like a forbidden word. "Mom," Mia's voice cut through her thoughts. "Why does this building smell like rich people?" Harper looked at her daughter, 7 years old, unicorn backpack, sneakers that lit up with every step, and felt a mix of love and panic. She hadn't wanted to bring Mia here. But the neighbor who usually watched her had an emergency. The school was already closed, and Lucas had asked, almost begged, for Harper to return and sign some preliminary documents. "It's important," he had said, "before certain people try to make those papers disappear." So, there she was, back in the bank, with a 7-year-old who had no verbal filter. What could possibly go wrong? "It smells like rich people because it's a bank, sweetheart," Harper explained, guiding Mia through the lobby. "Banks always smell like this." "It smells like expensive perfume and fear," Mia observed, eyes wide. "That lady over there looks angry." Harper followed her daughter's gaze, and her stomach dropped. Vivian Langley was walking straight toward them. Same gray suit. Same frozen expression. Same look that measured people the way some people calculate how much it costs to get rid of them. "Miss Collins," Vivian said, stopping in front of her with a smile that never reached her eyes. "What a surprise to see you back. I thought you had already left." "I thought so too," Harper replied, trying to keep her voice steady. "But it seems the universe had other plans." "Universe." Vivian said the word as if it were something unpleasant. Interesting choice of words. She tilted her head. "May I ask what exactly you are doing here? This is a business environment, not a—" Her eyes dropped to Mia. "Playground." Mia wrinkled her nose. "Ma'am, are you always this rude, or is today a special day?" Harper almost choked. Vivian blinked, clearly not used to being confronted by someone 3.5 feet tall. "Mia," Harper whispered, "what did we say about speaking to adults? That I should be polite?" Mia answered without looking away from Vivian, but she started it. Vivian regained her composure, but there was something different in her eyes now, something sharper. "Miss Collins," she said, ignoring Mia, "there are rumors circulating around the bank, sensitive rumors, about an alleged connection between you and the missing founder." Harper felt her heart race. "Rumors?" "Yes. Rumors that, if true, could cause significant complications for everyone involved." Vivian stepped closer. "So I will ask directly, what exactly are you trying to do here?" "I'm not trying to do anything," Harper replied. "I only came here to ask for a loan. The rest happened." "Happened?" Vivian repeated. "How convenient." "It wasn't convenient. It was embarrassing and frightening and completely fascinating," Vivian cut in. "A woman with no apparent connection to this bank shows up out of nowhere with a convenient photo and suddenly has access to restricted files and the personal attention of the CEO." She smiled. "Forgive me if I find that suspicious." Harper opened her mouth to answer, but before she could, "Vivian." Lucas's voice sliced through the air like a blade. He was walking across the lobby, firm steps, controlled expression, but Harper could see the tension in his shoulders, the tight jaw. He was not happy. "Mr. Mercer." Vivian turned, still smiling. "I was simply welcoming our visitor. I saw the kind of welcome you were giving." Lucas stopped beside Harper. He didn't touch her. He didn't need to. The message was clear. "Miss Collins is here at my invitation. Any questions about her presence can be directed to me." Vivian raised a brow. "At your invitation. How interesting." "It's not interesting. It's procedure." "Procedure for what, exactly?" Lucas didn't answer. The silence between them was sharp. Mia tugged Harper's sleeve. "Mom," she whispered loud enough for everyone to hear, "is the handsome man and the lady with the mean face fighting because of you?" Harper closed her eyes. "For the love of God, Mia." Vivian looked at the child with an expression that could freeze hot coffee. "Lucas?" Harper would swear, almost smiled. "Mia, right?" he said, crouching to her level. "I'm Lucas. Nice to meet you." Mia studied him with the seriousness of a Supreme Court judge. "Are you the boss of this place?" "I am." "And do you like my mom?" "Mia," Harper squeaked. Lucas didn't look away from the girl. "I respect your mom. She is brave." Mia nodded, satisfied. "Good. Because she deserves someone who respects her. Her last boyfriend was a dummy." "Mia!" It was true. Vivian cleared her throat, clearly losing patience. "Mr. Mercer, when you have a moment for adult discussions, the board would like a word." The board can wait, Lucas replied, standing. I have more urgent matters. Vivian narrowed her eyes. For a moment that felt endless, she just looked at Harper, studying, calculating. Then she smiled. A smile of someone who had won bigger battles. As you wish, Mr. Mercer. But remember. She began walking away. Misplaced loyalties have consequences. Her heels echoed across the marble as she left. Harper let out a breath she didn't know she was holding. Lucas, she said softly, I don't know if I can do this. This world, these people. She shook her head. I'm afraid I won't be enough. Lucas looked at her. Harper, you stood up to Vivian Langley with a 7-year-old at your side and didn't step back once. He paused. You're more than enough. Mia tugged Harper's hand. Mom, I like him. He's handsome and polite. That's rare. Harper covered her face with both hands. Someone please wake me up from this day. But when she looked at Lucas, at the half-smile he was trying to hide, at the eyes that seemed to say she wasn't alone, Harper felt something she didn't expect. Vivian may have smiled like someone who had already won bigger battles, but Harper saw something the villain didn't expect. Lucas Mercer, standing right there beside her, with the look of someone who had chosen a side. And it wasn't the boards. 2 days passed, and Harper Collins still hadn't woken from that dream. Or nightmare, depending on the angle. On one hand, she had discovered she was the heir to a financial empire. On the other, that empire seemed determined to destroy her before she could claim anything. Vivian Langley hadn't shown up again, but Harper felt her presence in every sideways glance, in every whisper that stopped when she walked by, in every door that closed a little too quickly. The bank was on alert. And Harper was the reason. You're thinking out loud again? Lucas said, without looking up from the documents spread across the table. Harper blinked. I didn't say anything. You don't need to. Your forehead does something when you're worried. My forehead does something? A wrinkle. Right here. He pointed to his own face between the eyebrows. Looks like a subway map. Harper touched her forehead on instinct. That is oddly specific. I'm observant. Clearly, they were in an archive room in the bank's basement, a place that smelled like old paper and buried secrets. Lucas had gotten special access, using the weight of his position and a few words Harper preferred not to hear. Now, the two of them were digging through boxes that hadn't been opened in years. I found something else, Harper said, pulling a folder from inside a dusty box. When she did, she bumped into another stack of documents that immediately started to slide. She tried to catch it. She couldn't. The papers cascaded to the floor like a bureaucratic avalanche. Not again, Harper groaned, bending down. Lucas, I swear they jump on their own. I barely touched them. Lucas looked at the pile on the floor, looked at Harper. You have a talent. For destruction? Thank you, I know. While they picked up the papers again, the door of the room opened. A man walked in. Young, maybe 30, thin-rimmed glasses, dark hair slightly messy. He carried a box of files and had the expression of someone who knew more than he showed. Mr. Mercer, he said, closing the door. I got what you asked for. Elijah. Lucas stood. Harper, this is Elijah Coleman, senior archivist and one of the few people in this bank I trust. Elijah looked at Harper with curiosity, but not hostility. It was the look of someone trying to solve a puzzle. So you're Malcolm Waverly's daughter, he said. I always knew this story had missing pieces. You knew my father? Not personally, but I know every document he ever signed in this bank. Elijah set the box on the table, and I know the documents that disappeared after he went missing. Harper felt a chill down her spine. Disappeared? They were moved, filed in the wrong places. Some were destroyed. Elijah opened the box. I spent the last 2 days tracking what was left. Lucas stepped closer. What did you find? Elijah pulled out a series of memos. Your father had enemies, Mrs. Collins. Not the kind who yell in meetings. The kind who smile at you and work against you when no one is looking. Harper swallowed. Oh. Gregory Shaw, for example. Elijah showed a photo of a man in his mid-50s, round face, a smile like a used car salesman. He was Malcolm's right-hand man in the beginning. But when your father started changing the direction of the bank, Shaw didn't like it. Changing how? Microcredit, affordable loans, social programs. Elijah paused. Your father wanted the bank to help regular people. Shaw wanted the bank to make money, a lot of money, for very few people. Lucas picked up another document. There's more. 3 months before the disappearance, there was a board vote. Malcolm wanted to approve an expansion project for low-income communities. The vote was Troubled. Troubled how? Quiet situations, internal pressure, and that same week, one of the board members had an incident with his car that was never explained. Lucas set the document on the table. Your father was surrounded, Harper, and no one did anything to help. The silence that followed seemed to fill the whole room. Harper turned toward the old printer in the corner. One of those gray, ancient machines that looked like it had survived 3 decades of bureaucracy. She didn't even know why she did it. It was automatic. When the world got too heavy, Harper Collins talked to objects. Did you know all of this? She asked the printer. You were here, right? You saw everything happen? The printer, of course, didn't answer, but it made a sound, a mechanical rumble followed by a choke, and jammed. Oh great, Harper said. Now you're against me too. Elijah looked at Lucas with an expression that said, Is this normal? Lucas only nodded, with the ghost of a smile. She talks to objects. I noticed. Harper ignored them and went back to the table, but something in Lucas's face had changed. His expression was more open, vulnerable. Lucas, she asked, are you all right? He took a moment before answering. My uncle, he finally said. He was a lawyer, worked for a big firm in Chicago. He found out the partners were taking money from pension funds. He tried to report it. Harper felt her stomach tighten. What happened? They said it was a car accident. Lucas didn't look at her. The investigation was closed in 2 weeks. No one was ever held responsible. The air in the room felt heavier. Lucas, I'm very sorry. It was 10 years ago. He finally looked at her. But I never forgot, and I never trusted almost anyone again. Almost anyone? Lucas held her gaze. Until now. Harper didn't know what to say. She didn't need to. Elijah cleared his throat, breaking the moment. There's one more thing, he said, handing her a yellowed folder. This was hidden in a file marked as destroyed. Clearly, someone didn't finish the job. Harper took the folder. Inside, there was a single sheet. Yellowed paper. Faded ink. Handwriting she would recognize anywhere. Her father's handwriting. A letter, Elijah continued. Written by Malcolm Waverly, 2 days before he disappeared. Harper felt her hands tremble. Lucas stepped closer, reading over her shoulder. The letter was short, direct, and the last line made Harper's heart stop. If you are reading this, then I couldn't make it back in time. Harper, my sunflower, forgive me. Everything I did to protect you. I hope someday you understand, and I hope someday you find what I left behind. Harper lifted her eyes, tears already falling. He knew, she whispered. He knew he wasn't coming back. Lucas placed a hand on her shoulder, and he left something for you to find. Elijah pointed to a line in the corner of the letter, almost unreadable, written in a rush. Look at this. It seems like an address, or part of one. Harper looked. Numbers, smudged letters, something that looked like Vale or Valley. It's a clue, Lucas said. Your father left a trail. Harper pressed the letter against her chest. 15 years of silence. And now, finally, a voice from the past. A voice saying, find me. The letter was still in Harper's hands when her phone rang. She almost dropped it, which, considering her history with objects, wouldn't be a surprise, but she managed to hold it while checking the screen. Mia? Just a second, Harper said to Lucas, stepping away a little. Hi, sweetheart. Is everything okay? Mom. Mia's voice was urgent, the kind that could mean a disaster or just that her favorite cartoon had ended. Mrs. Gutierrez made lasagna. Harper blinked. That's good. She put broccoli inside, Mom. Hidden. That's betrayal. Harper closed her eyes, a smile slipping out despite everything. Mia, broccoli is good for you. Broccoli is the villain of vegetables. Everyone knows that. Eat at least half, for me. Fine, but you owe me ice cream. A pause. Are you still in that fancy building? Harper looked around. The dusty files, Lucas pretending he wasn't listening, the weight of 15 years of secrets in her hands. I'm still here, honey. And is the handsome guy still being nice? Harper felt her face warm. Mia. It's a valid question, Mom. Mrs. Gutierrez said a handsome man who is nice is like a unicorn, rare. Mrs. Gutierrez should focus on her lasagna. She said that too. Mia paused. Mom, are you okay? Your voice sounds different. Harper felt her chest tighten. 7 years old, and Mia could read her better than any adult. I'm okay, sweetheart, just learning some things. Good things or bad things? Harper looked at the letter in her hand. I don't know yet. Then find out soon and come home. I need someone on my side in the broccoli war. I love you, Mia. I know. Bye, Mom. The call ended. Harper stood there for a moment, phone still in hand, a sad smile on her lips. She seems like a force of nature, Lucas said, stepping closer. You have no idea. Harper put the phone away. Sorry about that. No need to apologize. Lucas paused. It's good seeing you with her. You change. How do I change? You get more light. Harper didn't know what to say, so she did what she always did when she couldn't handle emotions. She changed the subject. The letter, she said, lifting the paper. You said it looks like an address here. Can you read it? Lucas took the letter, his fingers brushing hers for a second longer than necessary. Harper pretended she didn't notice. Her heart, traitor that it was, noticed very well. Looks like Valley, Lucas said, narrowing his eyes. And these numbers? Maybe a zip code? The door opened, and Elijah came in carrying another box. I found more, he said, setting the box on the table. Letters, a lot of them. Your father wrote almost every month, but he never sent them. Harper frowned. Wrote to who? Elijah opened the box. Inside were dozens of envelopes, all sealed, all addressed the same way, to my sunflower. Harper felt her legs weaken. He wrote to me? Every month, Elijah confirmed, for at least 2 years before he disappeared. But the envelopes were never opened, never sent. Harper picked one of the envelopes with trembling hands, her father's handwriting, her childhood nickname, years of words that never reached her. Why didn't he send them? Her voice came out broken. Lucas stepped closer, closer than before, close enough that she felt his warmth. Maybe he was afraid, he said softly. Afraid they'd be intercepted, afraid he'd put you in danger. Harper opened the first envelope. The letter was short, dated 15 years ago. Harper, my sunflower, today you turned 11. I watched from a distance. You blew out the candles and made a wish. I made the same wish that someday I can come back to you, that someday you understand why I had to leave. The next letter was from a month later. You got the highest score in math. I heard because I still have friends who look out for you. I'm so proud. I wish I could tell you this in person. And the next one. Today I almost came back. Almost. But they're still watching. Wide smiles hiding intentions I can't trust. I can't let anything bad reach you. Harper didn't realize she was crying until a tear fell on the paper. He was watching me, she whispered. All this time. He was close. Lucas placed a hand on her shoulder. This time Harper didn't pull away. Your father lived 15 years in the shadows, Lucas said. 15 years hiding alone just to make sure you were safe. But I wasn't safe. Harper turned to him, her eyes red. I was alone. I grew up thinking my father didn't love me enough to stay, that I wasn't enough. Harper. I talked to objects, Lucas. She let out a bitter laugh. Do you know why? Because when I was a child, after he left, I had no one. My mom worked all day. I came home from school to an empty apartment, so I invented friends. The toaster, the lamp, the living room rug. Her bun chose that moment to finally give up. It fell, again. Harper didn't even care. She let her hair fall over her shoulders, messy and defeated the way she felt. Lucas stepped forward and then did something Harper didn't expect. He reached out and moved a strand of hair away from her face. Slowly, gently, the air seemed to stop. You, Lucas said, his voice lower than before, are more than enough. Your father knew that. That's why he did everything he could to protect you. Harper couldn't move. She couldn't breathe. Lucas's eyes were so close, brown, deep, filled with something she couldn't name. Lucas? Guys? Elijah's voice cut through the moment. Sorry to interrupt. Whatever this is, but you need to see something. Harper stepped away from Lucas so fast she bumped into the coffee machine in the corner. The machine made a sound of protest. Coffee splashed. Sorry, Harper said to the machine. I know. I'm the problem. Lucas ran a hand over his face, clearly trying to pull himself together. What did you find, Elijah? Elijah was standing in front of an old computer, eyes wide. I was cross-checking Malcolm's documents with the bank's financial records, he said, looking for inconsistencies, and I found this. He turned the screen. It was a statement, a numbered account, no name, but with activity. This account was opened by Malcolm Waverly in 1995, Elijah explained. It should have been frozen since his disappearance, but look here. He pointed to one line, one transaction, from 3 months ago. Harper felt her blood turn cold. That means, Lucas finished, his voice tense, it means someone is using your father's account. He looked at Harper. Or it means your father is still alive, and he's trying to be found. The next morning, the bank had turned into a silent battlefield. Harper felt it the second she walked through the doors. The air was different, colder, more hostile, as if every wall knew something she didn't and was waiting to watch the show. She had barely taken 10 steps when a woman in a black suit stopped in front of her. "Miss Collins, Miss Langley would like a word. Now." It wasn't an invitation, it was an order. Harper swallowed hard. She looked around for Lucas, but he was nowhere. Great. Alone. "Of course," she said, trying to sound more confident than she felt. "Where is her office?" The woman simply turned and began walking. Harper followed her, her heart beating far too fast. Vivian Langley's office was on the 12th floor, because of course it was. Everything about that woman screamed, "I am above you," so it made sense she literally was. The room was exactly what Harper expected. Huge, cold, decorated with the kind of minimalism that cost more than most people earned in a year. White walls, glass desk, a single orchid in the corner. Probably the only living thing in there. Vivian sat behind the desk, her hands folded, the usual smile on her face. "Harper, may I call you Harper?" "You may," Harper said, stopping in front of the desk. "But I prefer Miss Collins. We're not that close." Vivian's smile faltered for half a second. "As you wish, please have a seat. I'd rather stand." "As you wish," Vivian repeated, but this time her voice had a hint of steel. "I'll be direct, Miss Collins. It has come to my attention that you've been accessing confidential files from this bank. Files that should not be seen by outsiders." Harper crossed her arms. "I was with the CEO. He authorized it. Mr. Mercer made a hasty decision." Vivian stood up, walking slowly around the desk. "And I'm here to help you avoid the consequences of that decision." She picked up a folder from the table and held it out to Harper. "What is this? An agreement. Simple, direct, beneficial for everyone." Vivian opened the folder, revealing a document full of tiny letters. "You sign here, give up any claim to Malcolm Waverley's inheritance, and in return, we pretend this week never happened." Harper looked at the document, looked at Vivian, and laughed. Not a nervous laugh, a real one. "You're joking, right?" Vivian wasn't laughing. "I never joke about business. So let me get this straight." Harper took a step back. "You hid my existence for 15 years. Buried documents, lied, probably made money off my father disappearing. And now you want me to sign a paper giving up everything. Why? Because you asked nicely? Because it's best for everyone. It's best for you." Harper corrected. "Not for me. And definitely not for my father." Vivian stepped closer. "Mrs. Collins, let me be clear. You have no idea what you're getting into. This bank has resources, lawyers, influence. If you insist on this crusade, we will go through every inch of your life, your credit history, your job, your daughter's school." Harper felt her blood turn cold. "You're bringing my daughter into this? I'm presenting facts." The silence that followed was heavy as lead. Harper felt her hands shaking. From fear? From anger? She no longer knew the difference. But then she thought of Mia, of Malcolm, of the letters that never arrived. And something inside her hardened. "You know what?" Harper said, her voice surprisingly steady. "I've already dealt with a washing machine catching fire. I've worked double shifts with a fever. I raised a daughter alone in an apartment that barely had heat in the winter." She stepped forward. "Do you really think I'm afraid of a lawyer? Of paperwork? Of a woman in a suit who smiles while hinting she'll involve a child?" Vivian didn't step back, but something in her eyes shifted. "If anyone else tries to intimidate me today," Harper continued, "I swear I'll start giving out revenge hugs. And believe me, my hugs are very tight." She grabbed the folder and tore it in half. The pieces fell on Vivian's spotless floor like confetti of defeat. "Have a nice day, Mrs. Langley." Harper turned and walked to the door. "Mrs. Collins." Vivian's voice cut through the air. "You will regret this." Harper stopped, hand on the doorknob. "Maybe," she said without turning around. "But at least I'll regret it standing up." She walked out. The door closed behind her, and only then did her legs start to shake. The blow came 2 hours later. Harper was leaving the bank when her phone rang. It was the other bank, the small local one where she had her account for years. "Mrs. Collins? This is Central Credit Union. Unfortunately, your loan request has been denied." "Denied?" Harper stopped in the middle of the lobby. "But you approved it last week. There was a reevaluation. Your credit score showed inconsistencies." "Inconsistencies? What inconsistencies?" "I can't go into detail, ma'am. Have a good afternoon." The call ended. Harper stood there, phone in hand, the world spinning. 10 minutes later, the email arrived. "Dear Mrs. Collins, we inform you that your contract with Easy Wash Laundry is being reevaluated due to conduct concerns. Please do not come to work until further notice." She read it 3 times. She couldn't believe it. Vivian had said she would dig through Harper's life. Harper didn't imagine it would be this fast. She stumbled to the parking lot, found her car, the one that coughed every time it started, and leaned against it, and then finally let the tears come. It wasn't just the loan, it wasn't just the job, it was everything. It was Mia. It was the war she had walked into without meaning to. It was the fear that she had dragged her daughter into something she couldn't win. She slid down to the ground, her back against the car, her knees pulled to her chest, and she cried. Cried like she hadn't cried in years. That's how Lucas found her. He didn't say anything. He just stopped in front of her, took off his jacket, placed it over her shoulders. That perfect jacket, still warm from him, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. Then he crouched down, meeting her eyes. Harper. She lifted her face, eyes red, cheeks streaked with tears. They took everything, she whispered. The loan. The job. In 2 hours. Lucas didn't look surprised, only furious. A cold, controlled fury, the kind that destroys empires. No one, he said, his voice low but steady, is going to touch you. Not if I have to bring this whole board down to stop them. Harper shook her head. Lucas, you can't. Yes, I can, he cut in. And I will. He reached out his hand. Harper looked at his hand, at his eyes, at the man who a week ago had been a stranger and who was now kneeling on the asphalt of a parking lot, promising to go to war for her. She took his hand. And when Lucas pulled her up, Harper knew, even if she didn't want to admit it, that something between them had changed forever. An hour later, Harper was sitting in the executive floor waiting room, trying not to panic. Lucas had vanished 40 minutes earlier. He had said, "Wait here," with that tone that didn't allow discussion, and disappeared behind a mahogany door that looked like it held the secrets of the universe. Since then, Harper could only do one thing: bite her nails and talk in her head to the plant beside her. Do you know what's happening in there? The plant predictably didn't answer. Of course not. You're a plant, and I'm losing my mind. The mahogany door opened. A secretary appeared. Miss Collins, Mr. Mercer is asking you to come in. Harper stood so fast she almost knocked over the plant. Sorry, she whispered to the pot. I didn't mean it. The secretary pretended not to hear. Harper walked into the meeting room, and the air left her lungs. It was a huge room with a mahogany table that looked the size of a football field. Around it, sitting in perfect silence, were at least 12 people, all staring at Harper as if she had walked into a moment meant only for family. Vivian Langley was there, of course, her smile unchanged. Beside her, a man in his 50s with a round face and sharp eyes, Gregory Shaw. Harper recognized him from the photos Elijah had shown her. And at the head of the table standing was Lucas. He looked at Harper when she entered. Something passed between them, quick, silent, but real. I'm here, his eyes seemed to say. Trust me. Harper nodded, almost imperceptibly, and then she tripped on the rug. Because of course she did. She grabbed the edge of the table, regained her balance, and pretended nothing had happened. Lucas, for heaven's sake, almost smiled. I really need to remove this rug, he said, before you declare war on it too. Some board members exchanged confused looks. Vivian didn't find it amusing. Mr. Mercer, she said, her voice sharp, may we continue? Some of us have appointments. Lucas straightened. Of course. I'll be brief. He walked to the center of the room. As you know, last week information surfaced about a possible heir to this bank's founder, Harper Collins, biological daughter of Malcolm Waverly. Murmurs spread across the table. What you may not know, Lucas continued, is that members of this very board spent 15 years hiding this information, burying documents, manipulating files, making sure the real heir was never found. The murmurs turned into silence. Gregory Shaw leaned forward. That is a serious accusation, Mr. Mercer. It is a fact, Mr. Shaw. Lucas pulled a folder from his jacket pocket. I have here proof that documents related to Harper Collins were deliberately moved to files marked as destroyed. Proof that the investigation into Malcolm Waverly's disappearance was closed prematurely. And proof that, in the last 24 hours, someone used this bank's resources to sabotage Miss Collins's personal and professional life. He looked directly at Vivian. Would you like me to continue, Miss Langley? Vivian didn't answer, but her smile was gone. Gregory Shaw slammed a hand on the table. This is absurd. This woman shows up out of nowhere with an old photo, and suddenly we have to accept that she's heir to billions. She has documentation, Lucas replied. Birth certificate, registered will, DNA, if necessary. And you? Shaw stood up, his face red. You are the CEO of this bank. You should be on our side. Protecting our interests. I am protecting the bank's interests, Lucas said calmly. The interest of not being run by people who twist facts and cross any line to keep control. This is insubordination. This is ethics. The silence that followed was overwhelming. Harper felt her heart beating so hard she was sure everyone could hear it. Vivian finally spoke. Mr. Mercer, if you insist on this position, the board will be forced to reconsider your leadership. Lucas looked at her. Then reconsider. You are risking everything, Vivian said quietly. Your career, your reputation, for a woman you met a week ago. Lucas didn't hesitate. I'm risking it for something that should have been done 15 years ago. Justice. He turned to the rest of the board. As of today, I am officially supporting the investigation into HarperCollins's rights as Malcolm Waverly's heir. Any attempt to obstruct this investigation will be treated as corporate misconduct. Any retaliation against Miss Collins or her family will be reported to the proper authorities. He paused. Any questions? No one said anything. Lucas nodded. Good. The meeting is over. He walked toward Harper, who was still standing near the door, trying to process what she had just witnessed. Come on, he said softly. Let's get out of here. They left together. The door closed behind them, and only when they reached the empty hallway did Harper finally manage to speak. Lucas, her voice came out small, you just put your job at risk, for me. I know. Why? He stopped walking, turned to her. Harper, I spent 10 years at this bank doing everything the right way, following rules, keeping my head down. He paused. And I saw good people get destroyed by people like Vivian and Shaw. I saw my uncle get destroyed. His eyes met hers. I don't want to see that happen again. Not to you. Harper felt her eyes burn. I don't want anyone to suffer because of me, she whispered. It's already enough that I do. Lucas stepped closer. Closer than he should have. Why are you doing this? Harper asked, her voice unsteady. Lucas looked at her for a long moment. Brown eyes. Tight jaw. Something vulnerable behind the usual control. Then he said simply, because I chose to. Harper didn't know what to say. She didn't have to. The silence between them said everything words couldn't. 3 days passed, and the address on the letter finally made sense. Harper and Lucas were in his car, a sleek black sedan, driving down a secondary road somewhere in upstate New York. The GPS had given an opinion. Harper disagreed. The argument lasted 15 minutes. I said right, Harper said, pointing at the window. Right. You were not supposed to start talking about the fastest route. The GPS, unfazed, replied, recalculating route. Oh, now you recalculate? After we missed the exit 3 times? Lucas kept his eyes on the road, but Harper saw the corner of his mouth curve up. You know it can't hear you, right? It can, and it's doing this on purpose. The GPS is doing this on purpose. All electronic devices follow me, Lucas. It's a conspiracy of inanimate objects. You can laugh, but one day you'll see I was right. The GPS announced, turn left in 200 meters. Now it says left. Harper threw her hands in the air. Where was that information 10 minutes ago? Lucas finally laughed. A real laugh. Loud. Uncontrolled. Harper stopped complaining and looked at him. It was the first time she had seen Lucas Mercer laugh like that. Without the CEO mask, without the weight of his position, without the calculated coolness. He looked human. Handsome. Very handsome. Stop it, Harper. She turned toward the window, pretending sudden interest in the scenery. The car made the turn. And then finally, they arrived. It was a small house at the end of a dead-end street. Overgrown yard, peeling paint, a porch with a rocking chair that seemed untouched for years. Harper felt her stomach tighten. Is this it? Lucas checked the address. This is it. They got out of the car. The silence was strange, the kind that exists in places where time passed and never came back. Harper walked to the door, knocked, waited, knocked again. I'm coming, a voice called from inside. Rough, tired, the door opened. A man appeared. Around 60, white hair, a face marked by time. He looked at Harper, then at Lucas, with the suspicion of someone who rarely received visitors. Can I help you? Sir, Harper hesitated. I'm sorry, I don't know your name. Mitchell, Roy Mitchell. Mr. Mitchell, my name is Harper Collins. I'm looking for information about a man who may have lived here many years ago. Roy narrowed his eyes. A lot of people have lived here. This is an informal shelter. I take care of those who have nowhere else to go. Harper's heart sped up. The man I'm looking for, he had memory problems. He might have arrived about 15 years ago. He used another name, but his real name was Malcolm Waverly. Roy went very, very still, the kind of stillness that means something. Why are you looking for him? His voice changed, more cautious. Because he is my father, Harper said, her voice breaking, and I spent 15 years thinking he abandoned me. Roy studied her for a long moment, looked into her eyes, at her face, at something that maybe reminded him of someone else. Then he sighed. Come in. Inside, the house was simple but clean. It smelled of old coffee and loneliness. Roy led them into a small room with photos on the walls, faces Harper didn't recognize. He arrived here 14 years ago, Roy began, sitting down in a worn-out armchair. He didn't know his own name, didn't know where he came from. He only had a piece of paper in his pocket with my address and one word, safe. Harper felt tears rise. And he stayed? He stayed for 3 years. Then he needed care I couldn't give. I transferred him to another place. Where? Roy hesitated. Miss, there were people here before you, people in suits, people with money, asking the same questions. Lucas stepped forward. We are not those people. How do I know that? Harper stood up, she walked to Roy, and did something she didn't expect. She knelt in front of him. Mr. Mitchell, she said, her voice shaking, I spent 15 years thinking my father didn't love me, that I wasn't enough, that he had just walked away. The tears were falling now, but she didn't care. A week ago, I learned he spent his whole life protecting me, writing letters he never sent, watching me from a distance, running from people who wanted to hurt him and hurt me. She held Roy's hand. I just want to see my father, one time, just to say that I understand and that I forgive him. Roy looked at her, at the tears, at something in her eyes that must have reminded him of something else. And then slowly his resistance faded. Sunny Pines, he said. It's a special care clinic 40 minutes from here. He's been there for 11 years. Harper covered her mouth. He's alive? Roy nodded. Weak. His memory comes and goes. He has good days and bad days, but he's alive. And does he remember me? Roy smiled. A small, sad, real smile. Miss, he never stopped talking about you. Every day, even on his worst days, he asks about a girl he calls my sunflower. Harper couldn't hold it. The sob came before she could stop it. The tears came in a rush. And Lucas, without asking, without hesitating, stepped closer and held her. She cried against his chest, cried 15 years of pain, and for the first time since everything started, she felt the end of the search was near. The drive to Sunny Pines took 40 minutes, but it felt like a lifetime. Harper sat in the passenger seat, her hands intertwined in her lap, her eyes fixed on the road without really seeing it. Lucas drove in silence, respecting the storm he knew was happening inside her. In the back seat, Mia swung her legs, restless. Mom, are we almost there? Harper had picked her daughter up before going to the clinic. She couldn't imagine doing this alone, and more than that, she didn't want Mia to be left out. If Malcolm was alive, if he was really there, then Mia had the right to meet her grandfather. Almost, sweetheart. You said almost 10 minutes ago, and it's still almost, Mia sighed. Adults are terrible with time. Lucas looked at her through the mirror. She has a point. Not helping, Lucas. Sorry. He didn't sound sorry at all. The GPS announced, you have reached your destination. Harper felt her stomach drop. The clinic was a low building surrounded by trees with a well-kept garden in front. It looked peaceful, welcoming, the kind of place people went when the world had been too cruel. They got out of the car. Mia held Harper's hand. Mom, you're shaking. I am? You are. Mia squeezed her fingers. But it's okay, I'm here. Harper felt her eyes sting. 7 years old, and she already knows how to steady me. Lucas walked beside them to the entrance. The receptionist, a woman with gray hair and a gentle smile, looked up when they walked in. May I help you? We're looking for a patient, Harper said, her voice unsteady. His name is... She hesitated. He may be registered under another name, but his real name is Malcolm. Malcolm Waverly. The receptionist frowned slightly. Let me check. She typed something into the computer, looked at the screen, then lifted her eyes with a different expression, softer, more careful. Are you his family? I'm his daughter. The receptionist nodded slowly. He's in room 107, East Wing. She paused. He has good days and bad days. Today seems to be a good day. Harper's heart raced. Thank you. They walked down the hallway. Each step felt impossibly heavy. 107. The door was slightly open. Harper stopped. Lucas, she whispered. I don't know if I can do this. You can. What if he doesn't recognize me? Then you introduce yourself again. Lucas placed his hand on her shoulder. But something tells me he will. Mia tugged Harper's hand. "Mom, come on. I want to meet my grandpa." Harper took a deep breath and pushed the door open. The room was small, lit by the soft light coming through the window. There was a bed, an armchair, a little table with flowers. And in the armchair, facing the garden outside, sat a man. White hair, curved shoulders, hands resting on his lap. Harper took a step forward. The floor creaked. The man turned his head, and Harper saw her father's face for the first time in 15 years. He was older, thinner. His face had wrinkles that weren't there before, and his eyes, those eyes she remembered so full of life, now carried a shadow of exhaustion. But they were his eyes, her father's eyes. "Malcolm." "Dad?" The word slipped out before she could stop it. Malcolm looked at her. For a moment, a terrible moment, there was no recognition. Then something shifted. His eyes widened, his mouth opened, and a tear ran down his aged face. "Sunflower?" His voice was rough, weak, but filled with something Harper recognized right away. "Love, is that you?" Harper couldn't answer. Her tears came all at once. She crossed the room in 3 steps and knelt in front of the armchair, holding her father's hands, the hands she remembered as so strong, now trembling. "It's me, Dad, it's me." Malcolm lifted his hand to her face. He touched her cheek, as if he needed to make sure she was real. "You grew up," he whispered. "You grew up so much. 15 years, Dad, 15 years." "I know." His tears fell freely now. "I counted every day away from you." "Why did you leave?" Harper asked, her voice breaking. "Why didn't you ever come back?" Malcolm closed his eyes. "Because they were going to hurt you," he said. "People who didn't act with good intentions. People who wanted everything I carried with me, and the only way to keep you safe was to stay away." "Dad. I watched you grow from afar, Sunflower. I saw you graduate. I saw you have Mia." He opened his eyes. "I never abandoned you. Never. I just couldn't stay close." Harper sobbed. "I thought you didn't love me." "Oh, my girl." Malcolm held her face in both hands. "I loved you every second of every day. You were the reason I kept breathing." Mia, who had been standing at the door, took a step forward. "Mom?" Malcolm looked past Harper, and he saw the girl. "That is," he began, his voice shaking. "That's Mia," Harper said, smiling through tears. "Your granddaughter." Malcolm covered his mouth. "My granddaughter?" Mia walked up to the armchair, studying him with that seriousness only children have. "Are you my real grandfather?" "I am," Malcolm said, his voice unsteady. "Yes, I am. You were gone for a long time. I know. Will you forgive me?" Mia thought for a moment. "That depends. Do you know how to make pancakes?" Malcolm let out a laugh, weak but real. "I used to. It's been a long time." "Then we can learn together." Mia reached out her hand. "Nice to meet you, Grandpa. I'm Mia, and my mom drops everything she touches." Malcolm looked at Harper. "She's still like that?" Harper laughed, wiping her tears. "Actually, she's worse." "You've always been clumsy," Malcolm said, smiling. "Remember when you dropped the whole birthday cake? I was 6, and the cake had 3 layers. The cake was too big." Lucas, who had stayed by the door to give them space, finally walked over. "Mr. Waverly." Malcolm looked at him. "You're the young man taking care of my daughter." It wasn't a question. "I'm trying," Lucas replied. Malcolm studied his face for a long moment. "She deserves someone good." "I know. Are you good?" Lucas looked at Harper. "I'm trying to be." Malcolm nodded, apparently satisfied. "Good, because if you ever hurt her, I may be old, but I still know how to give a lecture you won't forget." "Dad." Harper's eyes widened. "What? It's true," Maya laughed. "I like Grandpa." While Harper spent the next hours with Malcolm, recovering 15 years in conversations, tears, and laughter, Lucas was busy destroying the board of Waverly Holdings Bank. The press conference took place at 5 in the afternoon. Reporters filled the lobby, and Lucas Mercer, CEO of the bank, delivered every document, every proof, every piece of evidence showing that members of the board had conspired to hide the rightful heir and profit from Malcolm Waverly's disappearance. Vivian Langley was removed from her position that same night. Gregory Shaw was arrested the next day. The newspapers exploded with the story. "Lost heiress found: the truth behind Malcolm Waverly's disappearance." Waverly Holdings CEO exposes internal corruption. Founder's billionaire daughter had been working in a laundry. Harper saw the headlines on her phone while she was still at the clinic, sitting beside her father. "Did you see this?" she asked Malcolm, showing him the screen. He looked and smiled. "Justice," he said softly. "At last." Harper put away the phone. She looked at her father. For Mia, who had fallen asleep on the bedroom sofa. For the window where the sun was beginning to set. "Dad," she said softly, I forgive you. For everything. I understand now. Malcolm held her hand. I will never be able to get back the time we lost, he said. But I want to try. Whatever time I have left, I want to spend it with you. Harper squeezed his hand. Then do it. And in that simple room, with the sunlight coming through the window, 15 years of silence finally found peace. 3 weeks later, Harper Collins walked into Waverly Holdings Bank for the last time as a visitor. Next time, she would walk in as the owner. But that was a problem for another day. Today, she just wanted to close a chapter. The lobby looked different. Or maybe she was different. The same marble columns, the same shiny floors, the same employees in suits. But now, when she walked by, people waved, smiled, some even clapped. It was surreal. Mom, Mia said, holding her hand. Why is everyone clapping? Because your mom is famous now, Harper answered. Like a singer? Like an heiress. What's an heiress? It's when you receive things from someone in your family. Mia thought for a moment. Am I an heiress too? Technically, yes. Nice. I want to inherit a dog. Harper laughed. We'll talk about that later. They walked to the center of the lobby, the same place where weeks before Harper had been humiliated, thrown out, treated as if she were worth nothing. Lucas was waiting. He wore a navy suit, the same one he had on the day they met, and in his hands was something that made Harper's heart stop. Her wallet. That old, worn wallet that had fallen on the floor and changed everything. I believe this is yours, Lucas said, holding it out. Harper took it, feeling its weight in her hands. You kept it all this time? I was waiting for the right moment to return it. And the right moment is now? Lucas smiled. Almost. He made a gesture, and something happened. The employees who were working stopped. People walking through the lobby stepped closer. And from somewhere, Harper couldn't tell where, soft music began to play. Lucas, she said, her heart speeding up. What's happening? Harper Collins? Lucas said, and his voice echoed through the silent lobby. 3 weeks ago, you came into this bank asking for a loan. And got thrown out, she added, and got thrown out, he agreed. But you also dropped a wallet, and that wallet, he paused, changed my life. Harper felt her eyes sting. Lucas, I spent years building walls, he went on, thinking I didn't need anyone, that it was safer to stay alone. And then you showed up, tripping over carpets, talking to printers, knocking down everything you touched. Some employees laughed quietly. Harper laughed too, even with tears in her eyes. And somehow, Lucas said, you knocked down my walls too. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small box. Harper covered her mouth. Oh my goodness, Lucas knelt. The entire lobby held its breath. Harper Collins, he said, opening the box to reveal a simple, elegant, perfect ring. You taught me that strength isn't about never falling. It's about getting up. Every time. No matter how many times it happens. He looked at her. Will you get up with me? For the rest of our lives? Harper couldn't speak. Tears ran down her cheeks. Her heart was beating so fast she was sure the whole bank could hear it. And then, say yes, Mom! Mia's voice broke the silence. Everyone looked at the girl, who had her hands on her hips and an impatient expression on her face. He's handsome and successful, Mia went on. And his car has air conditioning that actually works. What else do you need? The lobby burst into laughter. Lucas bit his lip, trying not to laugh. Harper laughed through her tears. What, it's true. Mia crossed her arms. Besides, he made Grandpa smile. That's worth more than money. Harper looked at her daughter. At Lucas, still kneeling, at the ring shining in a little box, at the lobby full of people waiting, and she thought of everything that had happened, the humiliation, the discovery, the hurt, the tears, the fear. And in the middle of all of it, in the middle of the chaos, she had found something she never expected. A truth, a father, and a love. Yes, she said, her voice breaking. Yes, I say yes. Lucas stood, placed the ring on her finger, and then he kissed her. The lobby erupted in applause. Mia cheered, and Harper, the woman who had walked into that bank invisible, finally felt seen. Later, when the applause had faded and the employees had gone back to work, Harper, Lucas, and Mia were standing in the very spot where everything began. You know what's funny? Harper said, looking around. What? I came here asking for a $15,000 loan to fix my car and pay some bills. Lucas laughed. And now? Now I'm technically the owner of a billion-dollar bank. I got my father back. I'm engaged to the most handsome CEO in New York. In New York? Don't let it go to your head. She smiled. And all of this because I dropped a wallet. Lucas pulled her closer. Then I should thank the wallet? You should thank my natural disaster. I do, he said, kissing her forehead. Every day. Mia tugged on Harper's hand. Mom, now that you're rich, can we have a dog? Mia? And a pool? Mia? And go to Disney? Harper looked at Lucas. Welcome to the family. He laughed. I wouldn't trade it for anything. Outside the bank, the sun was shining over New York. Harper Collins had walked into that building as a desperate single mother, with an old wallet and a simple dream. She walked out as an heiress, a fiancée, and the owner of a story no one would ever forget. It all started with a denied loan. It ended with a legacy found and a love that finally became possible. And if this story touched you in any way, if you laughed, cried, or cheered along, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. Because love stories like this, they don't end here. They're only beginning.